I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You don't want the truth. You have that luxury.
Hey, well, shalom, and what's up, guys? Good evening tonight. I tell you what, it's Dr. B here, and I want to thank you for joining me for this session of Truth Time tonight, where we seek to bring you truth from a biblical and conscious perspective to help you grow in God and apply His word to the world around you. And tonight, man, we got us a hot topic. I want to thank you all for staying up late with me tonight for this special edition. I was not going to mess with this and deal with this, but man, I got to deal with this. I really do. I got to deal with this. I could not rest. I could not sleep. So I got to handle this here tonight. So welcome to all you who are joining me here for this late night session tonight. Man, I'm grateful that you are here this evening. Very quickly, before we begin, just a few housekeeping rules, some things I want to set in place to let you know what we're going to be doing tonight. If you're first time here on the channel, welcome to Bang TV. Please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell down below so that you don't miss any of the times that we're broadcasting and coming on. For all of you who are returning subscribers and supporters, want to thank you for your continued support and welcome you back to another session, amen, with me here tonight. So we're going to get into it. We got a lot of stuff we're going to cover. We got a lot of stuff we're going to deal with tonight. We are going to open up the phone lines a little later so you can get an opportunity to chime in, amen, and give me your thoughts as to what's happening and what's going on. So if you're new to what's happening and you don't know what's going on tonight and what's taking place tonight, I'm just going to be dealing with a topic that I believe is about to be a international phenom. I believe we're about to see something happen and take place on the worldwide stage that we would not have believed would happen and take place in our generation. I'm telling you, some things are about to break out and break forth. And man, I tell you, I'm going to try to calm down. I'm going to try to be good tonight. I really am. So I want you to invite somebody tonight. I want you to share this out. I want you to go out and grab somebody, tell them to sit down from all of their hucking and bucking and whatever they're about to do and get prepared for the weekend. They need to come and listen to what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Because I tell you what, this thing is about to get heavy. It is about to get deep out here. And it is time to deal with some stuff. So without further ado, man, let's get into it tonight. Because normally I wouldn't take the time to deal with this topic that I'm dealing with tonight. I really wouldn't. I would just keep it moving and keep pressing and not really pay a whole lot of attention to it, even though it deserves some attention. But recently, I've seen some social media posts. I've seen some comments by some professing Christians co-signing on to this latest WAP craze that is happening and taking place with these two, and I'm gonna call them ladies. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna call them ladies. These two young ladies that have seemed to lost their way, who are misguided and misdirected and really need much help by the name of Cardi B and Megan the Stallion. I'm going to deal with this here tonight because if you haven't and your head's been in the sand and you don't know what's happening and what's taking place, that this international dynamic duo has gone international. They have gone mainstream with it. And as a result, it's got a lot of people in a lot of places right now, from the young to the old, to the believer to the non believer. And I was before the Lord and I saw the thing on, I mean, you can't help but see it. It's everywhere on social media. And if you're on YouTube, it's going to flash up. You're going to get a notification or something, let you know what's happening and what's going on. It's out there and it's not hidden. So when I saw it and I came across it, I said, what the world is this and going on? And then I began to get emails and I began to get direct messages and stuff about, have I seen this? Have I seen that? The next thing. And I said, well, let me go check this thing out and see what's going on, because I don't follow this hip hop stuff and stuff not like that. I see it on the news, I see it happening, and I keep it moving. But this particular thing has grabbed the attention of so many people, and I felt that it needed some looking into. It needed some investigation. It needed some checking out. And I'm pretty tough skinned and can deal with a lot and handle a lot. But when I went out and watched the video had me messed up. And then I went out and listened to the audio that you're not getting from the video. And now that the video is some several hundred million views, the audio hasn't done nearly as hot as the video. But to say the least, what is happening and what is taking place, I've got grieved in my spirit, because what I begin to see and what I begin to take notice of. I even saw people who are professing to be believers rebranding the acronym WAP to mean worship and praise. And I said, really? I said, really? I saw, and I had to deal with this one young lady who put it on her social media, and I didn't blast in the public. I DM'd her, and I said, you know what? That don't stand for worship and praise, at least not the type of worship and praise we talking about unto our God. It's some worship and praise to another God. And you need to be careful what you're trying to rebrand or whatever the case you're doing, because I thought it was just ridiculous. I thought it was just foolishness. And if you are here tonight and you're wondering what I'm talking about and what's going on and what's happening, I'm going to share with you a couple things tonight as I look at this here thing and deal with this here thing, because one of the things that's happening and one of the things that's taking place is that it's beginning and it's becoming an international influence, and we're not going to be able to ignore it, especially when it has such damaging impact on our society. And what is happening is this is going to have an international impact on our society. So I felt that we need to talk about it tonight. I need to put some believers on notice and get them to understand, because if you still dibbling and dabbling and listening to hip hop and R&B and all of that kind of stuff, it's going to just escalate. It's going to just increase in its debauchery, in its demeaning of women, its demeaning of relationship, wholesome and pure relationships. Because my question is, why would any woman be proud to be a hoe? I even got some messages from people because they were mad at me because I'm going to talk about this. And then they had the audacity to say, I don't even know how to spell hoe or whore. The reason I put it that way in the text language, because social media, at least for those of us who are not the mainstream and attached to the mainstream and sold out to the mainstream, if we use vulgarity in our language and in our typing and speak, we're subject to get banned. We're subject to get blocked. We're subject to get shut down. So I intentionally misspelled the word to not be far off from the word, but to represent the word, but to stay, I guess, safe under the radar of being banned. Amen. Because I wanted to be able to do this tonight. And I don't really know what's going to happen after this. I don't know if this is going to be allowed to stay up or come down later or whatever the case may be. Because I had some problems getting on earlier. I'm having some other technical difficulties, but nevertheless, I'm going to keep doing what I got to do, and we'll fix it up and clean it up and do whatever we got to do later. But what woman, what lady would be proud to be a hoe when whoredom and whorishness and prostitution was something that women were forced into, not something that they chose to get into, not a profession that they selected, not a lifestyle that they chose to glorify, but it was something women were forced into doing, and they weren't proud of it. They didn't make public speech about it. Even the women who were walking the street on Main Street and out on the night street and all of that kind of stuff, they didn't have a sign up advertising what they were doing and all of that kind of stuff. And when it becomes to putting it in the face of people who want to walk a chaste life, who want to walk a life that is pleasing, whether to God or just to other people, and be respectful, this is a slap in the face to everyone, and everybody should be feeling assaulted by what is allowed to happen and take place. Because when did it become popular and socially acceptable for the glorification of prostitution and whoredom to be in the public space? When did that become popular and socially acceptable? Man, before I get too deep into this tonight, I'm gonna try to calm down and take some breaths here tonight, because I am hot, I am heated. But I want to play a little clip real quickly from the interview. I'm not gonna play the video because it's not for public consumption. If you, as an adult, want to go out and look at it and have a conversation with your family and your children, which I think you should, especially if they're still listening to this worldly music. You definitely got to sit your children down and have a conversation about it. But I want to deal with the interview for a moment of Cardi B after the dropping of the video and the album, and the pride and the arrogance that her and her girlfriends have as a result of how this thing is going global and blowing up, and their promotion that this is what the people want. Stay with me, man. Stay with me. I'm gonna be right back, and I'm gonna give you time to call in here in a little bit and do that. And if you would do me a favor and not put the comments in the chat, because I want them in the comment section down below. If you've got a question or you got a comment, you got something to say, put it in the comments down below this video and not in the chat, because I can't see the chat. I can't watch the chat. I can't respond to the chat later. I want to be able to address your concerns in the form of whatever comment or question you put down below. So put it in the comments and not so much in the chat tonight, okay? Because I want to have some dialogue about this, because this is about to become mainstream and about to be in our face. This is the beginning, and this is what God has shown me. This is the beginning of what is about to become larger and on a larger scale, because who is behind it and who is promoting it. But listen real briefly to the interview that the women are having as a result of what's been released and taking place. And it's short, and I've edited it and trimmed it down and bleeped out the vulgarity. So check this out.
People be lying. I'm telling you, people be lying. People be saying they don't like hoes and don't like that. So people love it. People love it. They love it because I know a lot of female rappers. They be talking about, you know, the community and the unity, and they're very woke. And it's just like, there are really good rappers, but it's like y'all don't be streaming them, and then y'all be complaining because y'all want us to rap about those type of stuff. And it's like, okay, but there is a rapper for that. There's different rappers that rap about those things that y'all want to hear. There are conscious rappers, but y'all not going to them. So you can't be mad. You can't be mad because fake like talking about.
Now, if you listen to that, these girls were snickering and co-signing for what's happening and what's taking place. And I know this generation is all about giving the people what they want. And that's what she's talking about. We're just giving the people what they want. And they lying if they don't want this and talk about this and they don't want this out there. And if they didn't, then they wouldn't be watching it and consuming it and all of this kind of stuff. And she is correct in a sense that this is what many people want. And because it's what many people want, that is the reason why it's going to become more mainstream and it's going to be more in our face. And one of the things that got me when she said, stop lying, because she's just giving people what they want. She's just selling them what they're willing to pay for and what they really desire and want. And I'm going to deal with that man thing in a minute. But if you feed any child or any young person or anyone for that matter all they want, and you just continue to give them all they want, and you don't have any self-control as to and responsibility as to what they need. For example, if your child comes to you and you ask them what they want for dinner, of course the child gonna say, I want cookies and cake and ice cream and pizza, and that's all they ever want to eat, because that's what they want. That's what they crave for. That's what their sweet tooth wants. That's the stuff that satisfies their young craving. But if you aren't a responsible adult and see the need to give them a nutritious meal and feed them food that is actually going to grow them and develop them and help them, and just continually give them what they want because that's what they want, then you're not being a responsible adult, let alone a concerned and responsible parent. Because eventually what's going to happen is the child is going to develop all sorts of problems physically and mentally and emotionally, by just having continually what they want and not what they need. It's not going to be conducive to a growing and developing lifestyle that a person is going to be healthy and strong in the correct way. And one of the biggest problems with the corporate money-making machine that's behind all of this, because, we got to look at the record companies and the music companies and all of those who are promoting this and pushing this and allowing this to happen and take place, because nowhere else has sexuality of this level, when it concerns prostitution and whoremongering, been put in the public market and the public space, except for now. And why is it now? And why is it black women being used and exploited in order to bring it to the mainstream? Because one of the biggest problems, as I said, with this corporate money-making machine is that they will sell you all the junk food that you want. And then, because they know that it's not good for you, but at the same time, they know that you'll rather go get that than get the healthy stuff. Here is why: when you first go into the grocery store and into the market, all the junk food is on the center aisles in the grocery store. Because if you want something healthy, you got to walk further to get it. You got to walk to the outside aisles and even to the back. They have the grocery section and the vegetable section all the way in the back, all the way in the corner. They have all the fruits and vegetables all the way in the back, all the way in the corner. They have all the greens and carrots all the way in the back, all the way in the corner, because they know most people ain't going to walk back there to get it. They're going to settle for what's in their face, what's close and available, and just grab that and get that and be gone. And the same people who will sell you all the junk food and all the garbage and all the stuff that's not good for you and healthy for you will right down the next aisle and round the corner of the aisle have a same aisle with all the high blood pressure medicine and the diabetes medication that you need in order to help you. They will sort of create a problem and tend to help you solve that problem at the same time. Well, they created the problem. And the problem that is being created here is they're feeding people who are not mature and who are immature to take something and to grab a hold of something that their flesh continually wants and desires. Do you see how deceptive that is? The same people who will sell you the junk will also try to sell you the remedies. Stay with me, because I'm going somewhere. Because the music industry is no different. And there's people out there who want to promote the worst temptations in life, the worst mindsets of thought in life, and the very worst dysfunctions that people have, and then take advantage of those dysfunctions because people are addicted to their dysfunction. And the system will continually feed that addict and even make a bigger addict out of them by continually giving them what they want. And then make money off of it in the process, all the while pretending that they're supporting you, pretending that they care for you, pretending that they're They want to support your cause. And this is what makes this that is happening today so damaging, because it's on and riding on the backs of this Black Lives Matter fake movement that seeks to destroy the nuclear family, the epitome of what God has put together as family, seeking to pull down the male factor out of the life and promote women, but promote whorish women and women of prostitution and women of the night. All the while, they don't care about the black children that are being married. They don't care about the prisons filled with black boys who don't care about black lives, who are destroying one another on the streets with black and black crime and black violence, and then teaching the young girls to glorify and to worship whores and strippers, to dance like them, to dress like them, to pop like them, to lock like them, to look like them, to want to have curves and bulges like them. The problem is today that people who are liking this stuff and who are not saying anything against it and staying away from it, how can a video have hundreds of millions of views if people didn't like it? They like it. They like it. And the reason that they like it is it satisfies their dysfunctional need to have a desire met in them that they're not ready to exercise self-control over. And if you getting something out of this, as I said, put me some comments down below. Talk to me down below so I can come back later and address those and have a conversation and a dialogue, because the challenge that is happening today, and there's going to continue to promote itself, is this is just the beginning of a greater problem. And thanks to these young ladies, thanks to these women who and other women like them who seem to be proud to be a hoe, proud to be a sex object, proud to glorify that lifestyle because they've made multiple millions of dollars on it. Yep, they've turned it into a profession of lewdness and sexuality and vulgarity, and they've glorified it in their music and in their videos, and proud of the lifestyle. They promote and show you their cars and their house and their jewelry and their bags and all of the stuff, and their stacks full of cash and all the stuff as a result of the lifestyle that they have chosen, not been forced into, not been taken aside and forced by someone into that. They have chosen this and then teaching other women how to choose this and then make money at it. I can't say what the actual WAP acronym means, but it's not, because it's not appropriate for this platform. It's not appropriate for any platform, but these women have been allowed to promote it and to say it unedited, unchecked, because Apple Music and the music industries that they are on, that's supporting this and promoting this, wants this out there because they want people caught up and pulled in and sucked into it so that they can, as I said, make money off of that dysfunction. And because I can't say what WAP stands for, just say this: it's the woman's female part that is overly saturated. I'll put it that way. I hope you got the children to bed and the children not up listening here right now what's happening. But you as a parent need to have this conversation with your young girls, with your young boys now and early, because they will want to grow up to perpetrate this. They want to emulate this, and they're already emulating it. Young girls today are already dressing sexually provocative, wanting to put up makeup because they have makeup classes online and all of that kind of stuff. Young boys are googly-eyed and seeing this because they are creatures that are visually stimulated. And this reference to the over-moisture of a woman's personal part as a prize for a man to get and to possess, and in its explicit release of the song that is not in the video, but is actually in the song, the entire song is an anthem. It is their new anthem to hoes and prostitutes and what they call the sex worker industry. They've created an industry out of it now to where sex workers now have rights. Sex workers now have protections and authority. They've created now an industry of something that was forced onto women, but now is being glorified by certain women. And with the chorus line of the song constantly repeating, there's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. And the whole house is full of rooms of whores where men can come and pay for enjoyment. But wait a minute. It gets better. It gets better. No, I'm not going there. I'm not going to review the entire video because I ain't here to deal with that. Because I want to deal with the fact that why would a woman be proud to be a whore? Because the greater question that we all should be asking is what dysfunction and malfunction has occurred in these women to where they are now proud to wear that badge and now proud to wear what used to be a badge of shame and dishonor, and they're proud to wear it now. They're proud to wear the scarlet letter. Back in my day, it was called the scarlet letter. If a woman of the night was provocative in such a way, that was banned, that was taboo. Now they're wearing that openly as a badge of honor and courage, and then encouraging other women to likewise come on and join and be a part. What does this mean for women of today? What it means for women of today, if we think about it, if these women promote this as okay behavior and an okay lifestyle and even a profession and a career, then there will be silly women, as the scripture said, laden with sin, who will follow that and want to imitate that and emulate that. And if houses are full of whores and men are invited to these houses and women in the house are selling their vagina every day as the norm, eventually the men who visit the house and come to the house will begin to think that every vagina in the house is open game. Hear this. Therefore, they'll begin to molest the little girls in the house because the mama has said there's whores in this house and there's vaginas for sale up in this house. And a man who is already perverted won't be able to make distinction between an adult woman who's offering herself and a child who's not for sale and not for offer. Here is why molestation and rape is at an all-time high in households of women who are provocative, who are after other men and have multiple men in and out of their house. Because the mama has already promoted the fact that there's whores in this house. I'm talking straight up in here tonight. This is just real talk. I'm just talking. I'm just sharing some things. I'm almost done. I'm going to give you a minute to chime in here because I ain't going to be long with this. I just want to plant some thoughts for you to think about so that you can pull your young babies to the side and have some conversations that we not going to have no whores up in this house. We ain't going to have no pimps up in this house. We ain't going to have my sons chasing through women and running through women, fathers, because that's supposed to be some badge of honor. You're going to talk to your young boys tonight and say, listen, son, you're going to keep it in your pants and you're going to keep it zipped up. I ain't telling you to wrap it up. I'm telling you to keep it zipped up and lockdown. Because if we don't have these conversations with our young people, who are the people who are listening to this, who are the people who are being greatly impacted by this, they're going to be the ones that grow up with this in a generation that is already over-sexualized and sexploitated. Because it's already happening in households all over the country. Because if you continue feeding the addiction, the dysfunction, and the sickness, people will continue to be the addict. Give me some more of that. I need some more of that. Hear this. The over-sexploitation and sexual sensation that men have is constantly being fed to them through these sexual images, and it's becoming easier and easier access for these sexual acts to take place. Women will offer themselves online for money and have meetups and catch-ups and groups-ups and get together with men if they're willing to pay for that. And men, because they are visually stimulated, see it and want more of it. So if they put more of it out there, more men gonna come get it and be willing to pay for it. from the young to the old, from the poor to the rich. It becomes like a drug. Sex can become like a drug. And people who are feeding you this and feeding that are feeding into what people haven't brought under self-control. And they are willing to pay the price for their pedophilia, for their rape, for their molestation, for their pornography, for their debauchery, because it's being promoted and being co-signed in the music. And Cardi B and Megan, they are being used and exploited by the industry and compensated very well, mind you, for doing it, but being used by the industry in order to promote this to this generation. And what's to stop it? If this now has become mainstream, what is to stop it? The only thing that will shorten this lifespan is if people in their homes deal with it in their homes. The damage has already been done for many people. It's out the box. The cat is out the bag. It's out there. It's gone viral. And these women who say that other rappers are talking about this, we're talking about this because this is what you want. This is what you're telling us that you want. So we're giving you what you want. They're using that influence on young black girls, young black boys, and women who would normally want to be chaste, but find it harmful in being so, because they have been taught to believe that a man wants a freak in the sheets and a wife on the outs. This is the saying that many of them have, not really understanding what a real man wants and what a real man needs. But because they're used to and still dealing with boys who haven't matured and grown up and haven't been able to take authority over their libidos, that have become over hyperstimulated because of all the things that are constantly in their face and pushed in their face. They don't know how to control their sex drive. They don't know how to control what's between their legs. And it appears that women who are proud to be a hoe, don't want to have a husband, and don't want to be a housewife. Instead, they're pleased to have a man that's an accessory or a sex pet. And then they will demonize and demean women who cook and clean. They say in the video, I don't cook and I don't clean, but I can tell you how I got this ring. As that is a slap in your face if you are a chaste woman and you cook and you clean and you take care of your man, and you still may not be treated, they say, as good as they by your man. That's no reason for you to give up on being a chaste woman, being a virtuous woman, because they demean cooking and cleaning. When is that beneath anyone, man or woman? I do a lot of cooking and a lot of cleaning in this house. I'm not less than a man because I do. But my wife enjoys cooking. She enjoys cleaning. And I enjoy having a clean house and a great meal. What's wrong with that? But they paint a picture that there's something wrong with that. Women got to be on top now. We ain't got to be, tied to that kind of stuff. I don't want no man tying me down. I'm not going to be tied down to that. And they taunt it in your face that there's something wrong with that and that you need to elevate your sex game so that you can start using your man to get better things or more things or whatever the case may be. Fact of the matter, if you're loving your man right, whether you're cooking, cleaning, washing, or ironing, whatever the case may be, he going to take good care of you. You taking good care of him, he going to take good care of you, the house and the children and everything else. But it ain't about using the sexuality as the weapon against him and as your greatest weapon against mankind. But they say we can use this so that we can get what we want, because I'm not going to have no man running me. I'm boss chick. I'm running things. I'm going to be on top. And the controversy that is about to become great is that people are going to side with this as some anthem that we need to now support these women who have chosen. I'm not saying women who have been forced into this lifestyle. These girls just choosing this. You can get on social media any day of the week and find women who have made this a choice and made this a hobby and made this a lifestyle. They ain't got some right-hand Johnny cuffing them upside the head, making them get out there on them streets and do this and then bring that money back to them. That's not these women. These are women who are choosing this. And I want to talk to chase women today who think that they got to keep up with the lifestyle that these women are perpetrating, that you got to have the Gucci and the Louis Vuitton. You got to have all the stuff. Listen, if your lifestyle is such that you can afford that, you can get that. But you shouldn't have to use your sexuality in order to get a lifestyle that you can normally or naturally, listen, adhere to or continue without doing that. Could you have that same lifestyle if you weren't sexploiting your body and selling your goods and selling your preciousness? And if the answer to that is no, then you don't need Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Bali and red bottoms. Because what's trending now, and I wanna respect their womanhood, and I wanna look at them as women, even though they're referring to themselves as whores proudly and boastfully, and establishing themselves in an industry that is exploiting them, and they are trending on social media and about to go international, and the pressure that is going to be put on women to become objects of sexploitation and whoredom. And it's interesting because now these same women have a problem if you begin to refer to them as such, that they refer to themselves as, now you a man basher, now you a chauvinist, now you a hater. But wait a minute, you called yourself this, but if I call you this, then I'm the bad guy. I'm wrong. Wait a minute. What's wrong with this here picture? You can't have it both ways. My daddy told me a long time ago, and he taught me a long time ago. He said, son, you need to save yourself till you get married, because there's a lot of women out in the street could take you a lot of directions. He said, but I want to tell you one thing. If you come across the woman and she wants to give it up and she's easy to give it up, that's not the woman that you bring home to your mama and me. See, a man never brings the hoe home to meet the parents. He don't mind having a hoe on the side. He don't mind having the loose woman on the side, but that's not the woman he gonna bring home to meet mama. That's not the woman he gonna bring home to say, mama, I'm marrying her. He don't mind having it on the side. And these women who think that they on the up right now, not the ones who real men gonna bring home to meet mama, who real men gonna put a real ring on it. And most of these men who put a ring on these women, they ain't faithful to these women. They ain't committed to these women. That's a business. That's a business. That's a power move. That's a money-making machine. There's some whores in this house. Paints a picture that you can be a whore in the house and it's okay. But it alienates millions of women who subconsciously think that that's what men want. And that's all that men want, a whore in the house. That's not what real men want. That's not what true men want. It programs our young girls into believing that that's the way women should conduct themselves. That's not the way women should conduct themselves. That's not the way you're going to take a woman on your arm to go to the gala or go to the White House or go to the governor's house or go to the mayor's ball. You ain't taking them kind of women in them kind of places. You might take them to the strip joint and to the club and to the movie house and to the theater and to the dance hall. But you're not bringing them into the public space of people of notoriety and position. Not real men. They ain't bringing them up in there. Not if they got a reputation to keep and adhere to. And the ones who've done it, look what has happened to their careers and their lifestyle. It feeds this overly active sex drive of young boys that as they grow into adulthood and into manhood, they become incontrollable and uncontrollable over their physical body, to where they crave and desire more of it, and therefore they're not pleased with any woman. And all they do is grow into an adult sex addict and possibly into a pedophile. People are asking and wondering, what are we going to do about it? If we don't speak out about it, if we don't say something about it, if we don't deal with it from house to house, from family to family, and teach our young boys and teach our young girls what is proper and what is right, children ain't got no business with makeup on and glitter on and nail polish on and all of that stuff, because they're trying to be like what they see on TV. They're trying to emulate what they see in the music videos. They're trying to be like what the girl has said in the movie screen. And what is that doing for our generation? If you look at the statistics, and especially when you go to some of the social services websites and you look at the statistics, and I've dealt with this in other videos of fatherlessness, and some of the statistics that are out there, things are just growing and just escalating. And what's going to happen in this lockdown culture, in this lockdown time and season, we're going to see more illegitimate children and baby born than we ever have, because people are becoming overstimulated with sex. They got nothing but time on their hand to watch it, to absorb it, to take place, and all they got to do is drop a cash app and get somebody to show up at the door and show up at the motel, and it's on. And it's on. I'm going to take a quick pause. If you want to call, you got a question, you got a comment, you got something you want to share, you want to say, I'm opening up the line right now, because I'm going to be out of here. I just needed to drop a few things because I want our people. I want people who are feeling pressured today to be like the women in the world, to be like the loose women, to think that that's what you got to be to get a man, to grab a man, to keep a man, to hold on to a man. I want you to change your way of thinking and be the chaste woman, the virtuous woman you need to be, and trust that God is going to bring you the right man that you need, because you shouldn't be chasing a man anyway. The scripture said, he that finds a wife finds a good thing. The problem is not enough women out there willing to act like a wife and be a wife and do the wifely things in order to be found by a good man. Good men and high value men and men who spent time making themselves and even reinventing themselves and working on themselves. They don't want a loose woman as a wife. They don't want a loose woman as a mother of their children. They don't want a loose woman that's going to teach their young girls and young boys that it's okay to be sexually exploited and to exploit your body that way, not in the traditional way of things. Now, this new generation, the new culture done changed a whole lot of stuff. And this is why we got to be careful. Believers, you got to be careful out there, because this stuff is going to catch many up. You see it already happening to where women come into the house of the Lord looking like they just came off the street, dressing like they just came off the street, dressing like they just came out of the dance hall, out of the party, out of the motel, out of the hotel. And they walk right up into the house of God and think there's nothing wrong with that. And in my day, we had the mothers and the elders who would check that and check that at the door and say, come here, let me put a wrap around you. And they would wrap you up. I see them wrap women up with the scarves, man, have the sheets and wrap it around them. Say, you ain't coming up in here like that. And then sit down and crack your legs open and show all your business and have all your bosoms out, man. They will wrap you up from head to toe. Not today. She can come in showing it all, shaking it all, laying it all out there. And then because from the deacon to the elder to the preacher, he's still got issues in his flesh, he's cool with it because he's looking at it, he's oogling it and ogling it, and eyeballing it, and he don't mind it because he got issues too. He's still dealing with stuff in his self. I got a couple callers on the line. I'm coming to you. Go ahead and unmute yourself, 908. Unmute yourself, 908. Tell me what your thought is, 908. Yes, good evening. It's Dr. B.
Good evening, Dr. B. Hallelujah. I know you are telling the truth. I'm telling you, every time when I come to single women and young women, I always go back to Genesis and I always tell them, women are made to be a helpmate to the men. And I always say, I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm telling you that's the truth. And that's what I said back in the day when that woman burned that bra, wanted to be independent women with all the other women. And that's when that demonic spirit came into the world with these women want to be so independent and, like you said, want to shake their booties and things of that nature. And like you're saying on tonight, this is so out of order. And that's what I keep saying to a lot of people. I said, this is why the families are out of line right now, because we're not doing what the Lord says, what the Bible says. And these other women in this generation want to say, that's out now. This is a new time. I said, no, nothing's changed. And then I had an epiphany one day, and I said, God, you're right. Time has not changed because God is time. Mm-hmm. Father is time. Yahweh is time. And it's the people that change the time, not the Father. And this is what I keep saying. Well, that was then and this is now. But I tell you, Dr. B, keep on telling the truth, because I'm praying for my granddaughters that they won't be so wild, like all these other women in the world. And I'm glad that I never even saw that YouTube video with Carly B and Megan Thee Stallion. I saw it across YouTube, but I wasn't interested to click it on because I know it wasn't something right about it. I said, I don't want to look at this foolishness because I'm not into these two women, things of that nature. And when you came on here tonight, I couldn't wait to hear what you was going to say, because when I read your title, why would any women want to be a hoe? I was like, what? Right. What in the world? But you're right about it, Apostle. You're so right about it, Dr. B. Just keep on teaching, keep on preaching, keep on telling the truth, because most people can't handle the truth. They still want to do what they want to do. The flesh want to do what it wants to do, just like in the days of Noah. So thank you for tonight, for enlightening us, open up our eyes. My son, your nephew, the prophet Daniel, he was also listening in too. Like you should share it to these men, because he always asked me, Mom, did you do this with, my eldest son? I said, absolutely. I said, nothing changed for me. If God hasn't changed, why should I change? Right. And so I'm so grateful we're on that latter end, as they say with the, what they call it, the late boomers, the baby boomer generation, but still have some good, great morals. So again, kudos to you, Dr. B. Just keep on keeping on. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you. And I mean, I wanna thank you for that too, because parents, the responsibility that you have to raise your children correctly and properly, not according to what the world is saying, and not according to the standard of the world and what the world is perpetrating as this is now and that was then. I know we've heard that for years, and we hear it still, that, man, that was in your generation. That was, it's a new day, it's a new time, it's a new thing. But when did good moral values go out the window? When did chastity go out the window? These things went out the window because parents stopped teaching them to their children and started adopting the philosophy that it's okay. Let them make their own decisions. Let them go their own way. But you're exposing them to everything that is out there. And it's a wonder that they're going that direction and following after that. As I said earlier, you can't continually just feed a child the stuff that they want. You can't continually just feed a child the stuff that their body just wants, but you have to give them what they need. You have to give them the wisdom and the instruction that they need in order to grow up into a healthy adult that can make the proper and right decisions. These people today, these young people today, their minds are not even right. So they can't even make the right choices and right decisions because they think that's okay to do. They think that's good to do. They think that, man, that's acceptable to do. And what's going to begin happening is, as this become more and more mainstream and more in our face, it's going to put more and more pressure on those of us who want to raise our families and our children with some values and some moral and some honor and some respect. Caller 843, unmute yourself. Good evening. 843, go ahead and unmute yourself. Good evening. You got a comment or question? Okay. If you dial into the conference line, I'm expecting that you have a comment or a question. So if you dial in, unmute yourself, and I will go ahead and be right with you. So 843, unmute yourself if you have a comment or question. If not, you can go ahead and disconnect from the line so that it's not tying up from other people being able to call in. So if you've already addressed your comment, addressed your question, you can feel free to unmute yourself or leave the line. Just go ahead and hang up, okay? If you've got a comment or question, because I'm about to get out of here for the evening and about to be gone, 843, good evening, Dr. B.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a little low, but can you get closer in your phone? I can just barely hear you. Can you get closer in your phone?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's a little better. Good evening.
Good evening. This is Mary. Shalom.
Hey, good evening. I didn't recognize the voice. You're kind of low there. Speak it up.
I'm trying to. It's hard. I guess there's something wrong with my phone. But I wanted to say it was really interesting because I was, I didn't even know this was going on tonight. And I was washing my dishes, and all of a sudden, I guess the new song Savage by Megan with remix of Beyonce started playing in my head. And then I started to get angry because I'm like, I didn't watch nothing. I stopped listening to secular music a long time ago. So, I actually deleted my whole library. I felt like God was directing me to just get all of that gunk out.
Right.
And I saw the difference. And so when I came on tonight, I was like, this is so on point because even videos, we may watch a video once, but that music that is, has demonic influence will stick in people's mind who are not, continuously seeking the Lord. And it just really stuck to me. And I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate you for, teaching things that other people will not teach. I mean, it's uncomfortable to people to say, hey, what you're listening to is, really bad. You should stop listening to that because you're not feeding your spirit. And it was tough for me to finally come to that decision to let go of secular music. But man, I love music so much. It didn't matter. I just transferred over and I just found God blessed me and allowed me to find some really good music that you can vibe to, and it's not necessarily gospel or there's certain moods to certain music. And I just thought it was very interesting. I wanted to just say thank you for teaching that because a lot of people don't teach that. The so-called pastors and preachers out here who are for the healing of your spirit do not speak about the things that will heal your spirit. Right. So I just wanted to thank you.
Good. Well, thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate it. And, you're so true because when we think about music and we think about anything that has a opportunity to be subliminal, because that's what happened. It gets into your psyche, it gets into your soul, and it comes up at times, sometimes even when you least expect it. You can hear something and that is catchy. You can hear a phrase that is memorable and it sticks with you. Here is why the money-making machines spend so much money and time on commercials and infomercials and things of that nature. Why? Because they know that subliminal messaging is what gets into the conscience of a person and they remember it. I've had to struggle just by the few minutes that I spent watching the video and listening to it, and then I had to go out and look and read the lyrics because I wanted to hear what they were actually saying. And I had to cleanse my heart and spend some time just with everything shut down, no music, no nothing, so I can just cleanse myself so those things weren't replaying and repeating in my head. But that's what it's intended to do, and what people fail to realize and understand. Lucifer, the fallen angel, the cherub, who was responsible for the worship and for the praise in heaven that fell, gave that over to man and has been showing man how to craftily use that in order to steal the worship from the Most High. What he could not do and what he could not accomplish, He is seeking to have man do and man accomplish, and robbing the worship from the creator and turning it over to the creation. Lucifer was part of the creation, and God created him as the cherub, and he was the seraphim, which means he sat above the throne of God, and out of him proceeded what could be likened to pipe organs or chimes. He was a musical being. Here is why, and I don't want to get too deep and teach this tonight, but I'm going to share this here, and then I'm going to stop. Here is why, when God cast him down to the serpent and gave him the scales of a serpent, it was synonymous to the multi scales he was able to play and the multiple scales of music that was able to come from him. See, it was no accident that God put him down on his belly to crawl the earth as a serpent, who is scaly, who is slitherable, who is conniving and cunning, and one of the most cunning of all creations, but also one of the most patient when it comes to stalking his prey. And Satan is using his ability to influence through music the lives of people through that messaging so that they can take the worship that is due to the Almighty and give it over to him. I have a whole series in my library that I've been trying to find for a while that talks about music and creation, and I'm gonna have to dig it out, because this music that is happening place, this evolution that is taking place, that is only going to escalate, and we're going to see more of it in the public space. And if it not be for the money-making machine doing something to stop it or curtail it, you're going to see more of this and even more. And I asked a question to myself because I thought about it. And I said, why up to now has it been unacceptable for prostitution and whoredom to be on the public screen, on standard television and standard broadcasting? It is because they will not put white people in those places and in those roles to demoralize the white standard of family, but they will promote black people to do that in order to contribute to the dysfunction that is in the black community. And that's a conversation for another time, and I'm preparing a video to deal with that, because what is happening is, and if we look at it and we evaluate it through object eyes, and we take away and we take our biases and presupposed and presuppositions out of the way, and we just look at it through the lens properly, we will see the usage of black folks and people of color to promote the most degrading and debauchery things that are happening and taking place. But you won't see that equivalent on anywhere in white space. And I don't want to make this a black or white issue, but it is. It is an issue based upon who they can use to promote and what communities they can corrupt through the usage of that venue and that vehicle. And this is why we have to wake up. This is why we have to wake our people up. We have to spend time talking with our young boys and our young girls about the importance of what they consume and what they take into themselves, what they listen to, what they watch, what they feed off of, because that is what they would begin to emulate when hip hop and rap music begin to change its tenor and change its tone. We begin to see an escalation in violence, black on black crime. Black people committing more crime. Why? Because it was glorified in the music that it was cool to be a gangster. It was cool to carry a gat. It was cool to pop, pop, pop. It was cool to put a 9 in somebody. It was cool to be these things and do these things. It was cool to run from the police and harass the police and be disrespectful to the police. Who do we have to blame for that? Yes, the absentee of fathers, but we also have the perpetration and the promotion of the music that put into young boys that this was what you need to be and grow up into. And because there were no fathers in the home, no father figures raising young boys, they went with the crowd, went with the gang, and rolled down those streets. And now we have. So now when we see them getting shot down in the street, now we see police officers afraid for their lives because somebody looks like a thug, looks like a gangster. We got to go back to what all promoted that and pushed. And these are conversations people really don't want to have. And this is why I have to do these sparingly, because people really don't want to have these conversations. They want to argue, they want to fuss, they want to fight, from the believers to the non-believers, but they don't really want to have the proper conversations to realize you have a responsibility. And we could only be responsible for those that we are responsible for. And it starts in the house. It starts in the home. My parents taught us that what you learn and what you get starts here at the home. You're not living in their house. You're not living in their block. You're not sleeping in their bed. They're not covering you with their roof. You're in my house. You're going to follow my rules, and this is how it go. And we were taught early that those are the rules of the house. We ain't going to have that stuff up in here. That's not what we do up in here. That's not how this house is going to be run. If you want to do that stuff, then you go on down the street and you get your own house. And the problem is people have done that and then stay home so they can be raised. And they went down and tried to establish their own houses. And this is what we have. We got whores in the house. And many are wondering, and I'm about to bring it to a close if there's no more comments and questions for the night, because I've already flapped my gums quite a bit. But we're wondering, and people are wondering, where do we go next and where do we go from here and what's the future of hip hop and the future of this. And listen, the future of all of that stuff is just going to go further and further into degradation and debauchery, and it's going to be hellacious. My question is, and what I'm wondering is, what's the future of humanity in a sexually overexposed culture? What kind of people can we expect to see if we continue to just give them what they want and sexually overexpose them continually to feeding their carnal nature, their fallen nature, their dysfunctional natures, and not feeding them with stuff to uplift them and build them up and bring them up out of the darkness so that they can see the light and walk in the light and live in the light. And I'm asking you, parents, elders, community leaders, if you've got young people in your circles, in your sphere of influence, spend time talking with them, teaching them, training them, mentoring them, because